All right, let's get right into it. When a guy like Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, someone who was right there at the very heart of the AI revolution, puts out a serious warning about the next few years, well, you got to pay attention. We're going to break down his urgent message about what he sees coming for us by 2027. And, wow, he is not messing around. He puts the potential danger of AI right up there with nuclear weapons. Maybe even bigger. I mean, that's the level of threat we're talking about here, and it really frames everything else he has to say. So, what's got him so worried? It all comes down to something he calls a super intelligence moment. And look, this isn't some sci-fi thing that's way off in the future. He believes it's literally just around the corner, and it's being driven by this shared belief system deep inside the tech world. He has a name for it. The San Francisco Consensus is basically this idea that all the top minds in Silicon Valley, the actual people building this stuff, they all agree that we are right on the verge of this massive, unstoppable explosion in what AI can do. And this is the number that should really make you sit up and listen. According to that consensus, this super intelligence moment isn't decades away. No, it's expected within the next 2 to 3 years. That's how fast things are moving. In fact, Schmidt points to 2026 as the real tipping point. He calls it the year of agents. This is when AI systems that can actually reason, plan, and act on their own are going to be everywhere. Think of them like little digital employees that can run your calendar, book your trips, or even write code for you. This is the boom right before the explosion. So, what's the engine driving all this incredible speed? Well, it's a concept that's basically been the holy grail of AI research for decades, the idea of self-improvement. Yeah, recursive self-improvement. It's this idea that an AI can start to make itself better, which creates this crazy feedback loop where each new version is smarter and better at making the next version even smarter. It's an intelligence that learns on its own without being held back by, slow human biology. Schmidt has this brilliant way of explaining it. Think about it like this. Imagine you have 1,000 of the best human AI researchers on the planet. One day, they build a single AI agent that can do their job. So how many AI researchers can you have now? 1 million? 10 million? Your only limit is literally just electricity. They don't need offices or paychecks. And when you throw 1 million AI minds at a problem, the progress curve just goes straight up. But, this intelligence explosion isn't a total guarantee. There are really two competing ideas about how this all plays out. The San Francisco consensus sees that vertical, uncontrollable curve. But then there's a counterargument, diminishing returns. The idea that as AI gets smarter, the next breakthrough gets way, way harder to find, which would actually slow things down. It's a huge debate, really, about the nature of intelligence itself. But okay, whether that curve goes vertical or just keeps climbing like crazy, the impact on us is going to be profound. So let's shift gears from the tech itself and talk about what this actually means for our jobs, our skills, and, well, all of us. Schmidt, who's a programmer himself, says our roles are about to fundamentally change. The real value isn't going to be in writing code line by line anymore. Instead, the most valuable people will be the ones who can direct these incredibly powerful AI systems. It's like you're going from being a musician in the orchestra to being the conductor of the whole thing. And this leads to a pretty wild proposal he has for our education system. He basically says universities should drop everything and create a mandatory prompt engineering class for every single freshman, no matter what they're studying. The whole point is to teach the next generation how to use these tools, because this is going to be the new way they express pretty much everything, their art, their ideas, their science. Of course, all this rapid change brings some really urgent problems that Schmidt says we have to deal with, right now. First off, we're already seeing jobs disappear. Then there's this huge moral question. How do you race against a competitor like China without throwing your values out the window? We also have to face the serious mental health impact these tools are having on young people. And finally, the big unknown. What happens when you start mixing and matching all these different powerful AI agents? And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, and maybe the biggest one of all. This isn't just happening in software. It's moving into the physical world. We're talking about a global competition for robotics with enormous stakes. Schmidt is super specific with his words here. Notice how he frames it. It's not a war with an enemy. It's a high-stakes race with a competitor. And in this race to put AI into physical robots, he thinks the US is starting to fall behind. So why is that? Well, the answer, weirdly enough, is in the electric car industry. Because China absolutely dominates in EVs, they've got this massive head start. They have the supply chains, the factories, and the know-how for the exact same parts, the motors, the systems that you need to build low-cost robots at a huge scale. I mean, the difference in strategy is just night and day. In China, you've got this incredible speed and scale, pushed by insane internal competition and this gigantic supply chain. They can throw up a gigafactory in 168 days. Meanwhile, in the US, it's led by pioneers, guys like Elon Musk, who have to build everything themselves from scratch because the suppliers just don't exist here on that level. And this all leads to Schmidt's biggest worry, the question that's kind of hanging over this whole thing. Yeah, the US has pioneers like Boston Dynamics, but China has dozens of advanced robotics companies that have just popped up in the last couple of years, and they're already churning out thousands of units. So, are we actually losing the race to put AI into physical form? And that really leaves us with the final bottom line question. When you pull it all together, the incredible speed of AI, the massive impact on our jobs, and this global race for robotics, you have to ask, if Eric Schmidt and that whole San Francisco consensus are right, if a superintelligence moment is really just a few years away, are any of us, as people, as companies, or as countries, are we actually ready for what's about to happen?